This is CBC Here and Now.
This pride flag is flying again outside of Paradise Elementary after somebody took it down last week.
It was burnt, so he disposed of it in the garbage can because he didn't want other children to see it.
I'm Jeremy Eaton, and I'll tell you how the school is using that as a teachable moment. That story coming up on Here and Now.
It's been really difficult. It's, not knowing when's the next job coming. We were actually signing on to a mortgage the day he got laid off.
If there's any blame here, it is these companies.
I am not prepared to burden the people of our province in our current financial reality with that sort of risk.
Tonight, a union rallies in support of the Terra Nova.
Inside, the House holds an emergency debate.
It's aimed at keeping people safe from intimate partner violence.
Sometimes it's a matter of life and death.
What's happening with Clare's Law? I'll have that ahead on Here and Now.
Rain this story across Labrador tomorrow, and then as we get into midweek, some tropical moisture for the island.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Anthony Germain.
And I'm Peter Cowan. Pride flags at 2 schools on the Avalon. Sorry about those technical problems. Pride flags at 2 schools on the Avalon went missing this weekend. A teacher at Paradise Elementary noticed the flags missing on Saturday.
And the same thing happened at Mount Pearl Senior High. But as Jeremy Eaton reports, if someone was trying to silence pride, it may have backfired.
When news of the stolen flags broke on social media, almost immediately offers to help came in.
I was very proud that people reached out and wanted to help, and that kind of eased some of the disappointment I was feeling.
It was actually 2 fifth graders at Paradise Elementary who approached school staff about putting the flag up in the first place. They didn't have to ask twice.
We said we'd go and get one as soon as possible, and we'd put it up when they were available to do it.
Not long after going up, it was gone, left in a charred mess not far from here.
I was very disappointed. I didn't think it would happen, that someone would actually take down the flag and to go one step further and to burn it and leave it in the playground for children to see.
And they drew rainbows and peace signs and flowers.
But it wasn't something the school could hide from the students. On Monday, the grade 1 students added chalk rainbows and hearts at the base of the flagpole. These educators used the incident as a teachable moment.
Kids were talking about it as they were coming in and walking through the hallways. There was a lot of discussions going on in the classrooms about acceptance and why it's so important to be accepting of everybody no matter what.
Mount Pearl Senior High's flag sat bare for the weekend as well. That pride flag has been replaced. Similar support from a community shocked that people would do this. The English School Board started a new initiative this month called Pride 365, a chance for schools to promote acceptance all year long. But the flag theft provided an unexpected life lesson.
Some of the older grades, like the grade 5s and 6s, even started doing research into different literature about the topic and learning a bit more about it. So there's a big positive that came out of just that education for the students from this.
It may have started with stolen flags, but it's grown into a much larger conversation and dialogue, raising more awareness than if these flags had just been left alone. Jeremy Eaton, CBC News, Paradise.
The English School District officially closed 3 schools over the weekend, 2 in Labrador and 1 on the island. Starting in southern Labrador, the Raymond Ward Memorial School in Norman Bay has been closed, so has Basque Memorial School in Red Bay. To the island, Bayview Primary in Nipperts Harbour has been closed. That school's on the Bayvert Peninsula. The board says there were no students enrolled in these schools, no staff assigned, and there were no students expected this fall. So the board has decided to permanently close the schools.
To other news now, more than 100 oil and gas workers and their supporters rallied this morning in St. John's. They're urging the oil companies and political leaders to find a solution that prevents the field from being decommissioned and hundreds of jobs from disappearing. Terry Roberts reports.
If this government does not act and work with the operators and the operators work with the government, we will almost certainly be mothballed tomorrow.
That's a sobering message for many in this crowd. An oil industry without the Terra Nova field is one many here find hard to imagine.
I'm just here to hopefully the companies are going to come up with something so I can keep my job.
I know of 2 or 3 young families, husband and wives with kids that's 6 years and younger that work for Suncor here in the office. And if this goes down the day that we're fearing that it is, there's going to be a lot of devastation.
Rallying as an emergency debate over the fate of the Terra Nova oil field took place inside the legislature. Outside, the stakes were even higher for many in this crowd.
My husband was on Terra Nova for a long time and got laid off last April. And it's been really difficult. It's, not knowing when's the next job coming. Small kids at home. We were actually just moving into a new home and signing on to a mortgage the day he got laid off. So financial struggles from that, and then also just not knowing what's next.
You can't do what you want to do. You feel like you're kind of trapped, you're in a prison, you're at somebody else's mercy, and it's not a comfortable feeling.
Suncor Energy has set Tuesday as a deadline for a decision on the Terra Nova, a big capital investment in order to resume production for another decade, or decommission and abandon an oil field that's been sustaining good-paying jobs and supporting the economy for 20 years. The provincial government has rejected an offer to become an equity partner, saying it's too risky, but has put $500 million in cash and royalty relief on the table as an incentive. Those stepping before the microphone called on the oil companies to strike a deal.
It is time for the companies to support our province, our workforce and our families.
I implore all the parties to come together to find a solution, to find a way.
It would be a damn shame if our next crisis were caused by the failure of Suncor, the oil companies and the government.
No outbursts, no loud chants, just looks of concern, with some expressing contempt for the oil companies.
I flew back and forth there for 24 years. I mean, I lost friends on the Cougar helicopter, and for them to just up and pack and leave and go out of here just because, it's convenient for them now.
While the decision is out of their hands, these offshore workers hope their voices will influence oil executives to reinvest in the Terra Nova. And with a decision looming, they won't have to wait long for an answer. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, inside Confederation Building, the opposition is accusing government of abandoning oil workers, but the province is defending its decision not to buy an equity stake in the threatened Terra Nova oil project. This took place, as Terry mentioned, during an emergency debate today in the House. Here now's Mark Quinn takes us inside.
Progressive Conservative MHA Lord Parrott said he wore black to mark a sad day. He looked to the past and accused Newfoundland and Labrador's Liberal Party of giving up on the oil industry long ago.
We abandoned our own people, the men and women who have built this industry. All we got to do is go back to Hibernia and look at the former Liberal government under Clyde Wells and understand that it was the PCs that fought hard for this industry. It was Mr. John Crosbie that fought hard for this industry, while the sitting Liberal government abandoned it.
Today's debate was specifically about the province's refusal to buy an equity stake in the Terra Nova oil project. Premier Fury explained the government's decision.
While the provincial government had discussed terms on taking an equity stake in the project, the risk has proven to be too great. An equity share would come with the associated costs of abandonment and other uncertainties. I am not prepared to burden the people of our province in our current financial reality with that sort of risk, Mr. Speaker.
The NDP's MHA for St. John Centre is looking to the future. He called for a transition away from oil. He said the province should take care of workers who are losing their jobs, not the oil companies who are still making profits.
They are not our friends. I don't care how many not-for-profits they donate to. There is a bottom line to this. Our job here is to look after the citizens of this province, the workers of this province.
In past months, hundreds of students have rallied here at the Confederation Building asking the government to transition away from oil. Today, the government said it's not giving up on oil just yet, even though the Terra Nova project looks like it is in question. It says there are many other projects like the Beta Nord project that hold great promise. Mark Quinn, CBC News, St. John's.
A tentative deal has been reached between the ownership and the union at the Come By Chance oil refinery. Ron Thomas with the United Steelworkers Union says news of the potential deal at the refinery is positive. Now, Thomas couldn't say much about the new deal before discussing it with his union members, but he says it's a step in the right direction after close to a year without a deal. The refinery first faced a permanent closure in October when a deal to sell the refinery to Irving Oil fell through. A second deal to sell was rejected by ownership group Silver Peak a month later, with insiders at the time saying a closure could do away with 500 jobs. As recently as January, the refinery was in warm idle mode.
Pretty nice start to the week. We've got some temperatures into the teens. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board. Nicer the further west you go, 19 degrees in Corner Brook, and then Lab City, the hot spot today at 21 degrees. Now, keeping an eye on a tropical system. Tropical Depression 2 formed earlier today just off the Atlantic coast there of the United States. It's going to head towards our way, or our neck of the woods, as we head into Wednesday, as you can see there. But by the time it gets here, it'll just be an area of low pressure at that point. It is going to bring some winds, not too much, maybe 70 to 80 kilometers per hour. But overall, the one thing that I will be watching is the moisture that it's going to bring. So some tropical moisture on the way as we head into Wednesday. Could bring some periods of rain, heavy at times through the afternoon, but certainly something that I will be keeping an eye on. I'll get into those details and have the rest of your forecast when I come back.
Thanks, Ashley. It's a potential way to protect people at risk of intimate partner violence and possibly make Newfoundland and Labrador a safer place for women and girls. That's what the province said when it passed Clare's Law. But that was more than a year and a half ago, and it's still not in effect. Here now's Katie Breen explains.
Women come here to escape intimate partner violence. Willow House is a safe place. But the people who run the shelter believe Clare's Law could provide those women with vital information that would help them before they need to come here to escape dangerous situations.
We've had times when we've had two women in our shelter at the same time at the hands of the same man. So these are the sort of situations that can really be avoided if this law is in place.
Domestic violence shelters do responsive, reactive work, Heather Davis says, but Clare's Law is preventative. It allows people seeing red flags to find out from police if their partner has an abusive history.
If I have those early warning signs and I know that I have options available to get that information, I can make a decision.
The law is named after Claire Wood, a woman from the UK. She was murdered by her boyfriend who had a violent past she didn't know about. Her dad fought for a law that would have given his daughter, or anyone at risk of domestic violence, the right to get information about potentially harmful intimate partners.
If that cycle can be stopped early because someone knows that this person that I'm with assaulted his past 3 partners, then, I'm not going to end up in that situation ideally.
Regulations need to be developed to sort out how the process will work here in this province. Officials initially said that would take a year, then a year and a half, but those timelines have passed. The province says it's working with the RNC and RCMP to design a protocol that takes privacy into consideration. Neither police force responded to interview requests for this story.
Violence prevention advocates say they haven't heard much on the status to implement Clare's Law, but they say they want it to move faster because it could mean the difference between life and death. Katie Breen, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Halibu First Nation held an opening ceremony for the new Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women and Girls Memorial Garden. On Friday, over 100 people gathered on Majestic Lawn to mark the Migwi Datum Garden, which means I remember. Here now's Colleen Connors was there and captured some emotional moments.
Today we remember and we hold our sisters' spirits in our hearts as we honor their memories and pledge to never forget.
It is a symbol of the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. It's a painting that I did a couple years ago in honor of these women that we've lost and the ones that are still struggling to overcome the violence. I'm extremely humbled, and I'm very, very grateful to Halibu First Nation for taking on this image and making it the centerpiece for this beautiful garden. I'm really, really happy for my children and my children's children and all of our children's children, because the ones that are lost can't be here today. So it means a lot to put this there for them to share and be proud of.
This is something that we've been fighting all of our lives. And it's been like taking 2 steps forward and you take 5 back. But at the end of the day, when we come forward to an event like this, we know that all the work that's been done has been meaningful, and incredible people put this together. And thanks to government, because when government sees the kind of work that you're doing, they'll always come forward and step up and do the right thing.
Sister, sister, I want you to know you are so strong and beautiful. The horror that has been set up on so many women and girls. So many who just wanted to live their life freely, whose life was taken, whose innocence was taken. Many who died alone, without family, without loved ones. Many who were victims for no reason. And there is never a reason to be a victim. I think of you every day since you gone away. Hey, oh, hey, oh, hey, oh.
Well, a national move that will affect Indigenous people in this province. Ottawa is moving ahead on 2 of the calls to action contained in the Truth and Reconciliation Report. Item number 15 calls for the establishment of a Commissioner of Indigenous Languages. Item number 17 calls for Indigenous people to be allowed to use their birth names on government documents.
It's an important step to support First Nations, Inuit, and Métis reconnect to their cultural identity that was taken from them by harmful government laws and policies.
Names are essential to our identity. They hold references to where we are from, our family's history, and our language.
Indigenous people can now apply to reclaim their birth names on passports, citizenship certificates, and permanent residency cards at no charge. And the first Commissioner of Indigenous Languages has been named. He's Chief Ronald E. Ignace. 3 directors of the commission were also named. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission produced 94 calls to action in its report that was released 6 years ago.
Salmon anglers and environmentalists in this province are worried about low water levels in the island's rivers. Now, that is Big Falls, located on the Humber River at the Sir Richard Squires Memorial Provincial Park, northeast of Cormac. Now, Castine Coleman, who you see fly fishing there, says she can't remember ever being able to wade so far into that river, and normally the water where she's casting there is over her head.
This year I am up to my ankles in the middle of the river, so they're quite low and not like I've seen in June before. When the water is low, the rivers are they're looking pretty dried up, and when you get warm temperatures, the water heats up faster. And they'll close the rivers down once they reach, there's a warm water protocol, so the rivers will probably shut down if they reach that temperature, and it'll be early, unless we get some rain.
6 artists from Newfoundland and Labrador have taken home East Coast Music Awards.
Yeah, the awards were handed out at 2 virtual shows last Thursday and last night.
Kelly Loader won the Fans' Choice Video of the Year award. This video, Molded Like a Monster.
Yeah, the Swinging Bells are the Children's Entertainer of the Year.
Steve Cowan and Adam Chikiliti won Classical Recording of the Year for their album Focus.
And Newfoundland raised John Pike, who goes by Bridges, On stage, won Dance Recording of the Year with Fowler for their song Suspicious.
And Happy Valley Goose Bay's Silver Wolf Band, you see there, won Indigenous Artist of the Year.
And finally, Peter Green won the ECMA for Sound Engineer of the Year. Green is known for his work with Alan Doyle and Tim Baker, among other artists.
Coming up this week on Here and Now, salmon poaching in Newfoundland and Labrador. It is a perennial problem. We'll have a story for you. It's of a court case that happened on the West Coast. One man pleaded guilty, the other pleaded not guilty. That story this week on Here and Now.
Well, shaping up to be a pretty beautiful evening tonight. However, low-lying areas looking at the risk of frost. And then we've got some tropical moisture as we head into Wednesday, but I'll get into all the details after the break.
Welcome back. The Autism Society of Newfoundland and Labrador began its annual plant and garden sale this weekend at the Pantry Cafe and Gardens in St. John's. The garden and restaurant provides training as well as employment opportunities to people who with autism spectrum disorder.
Is our annual flower fundraiser. We sell hanging baskets of annual flowers along with basil and other greenhouse herbs and tomatoes and peppers, and just anything that I can grow and fit in this greenhouse and sell to the public. Every dollar that's spent here is put back into helping fund our programming for adults and youth with autism spectrum disorder. So you're getting your plants for your garden, and you're also directly helping out fund our programming here on site.
The proceeds of our social enterprise, in addition to the employment opportunities it creates for those on the spectrum, are used to reinvest in the work we do here at the Society to provide for those with autism, those who love them, and those who work with them.
Well, our hanging baskets are going real fast. That's the main point of our sale. I hope to sell out. I hope to, in a couple of weeks, all of these are sold, and this is a full-on production greenhouse to supply our pantry restaurant.
People coming to our facility, seeing the restaurant, seeing the gardens, knowing that we're here on Clinch Crescent across from the Janeway, coming back and experiencing this place time and time again, and also to interact with our clients, to realize that it's amazing the potential you see in people once you get to know them as a person. And when the general public interacts with our clients and whatnot, that understanding, that acceptance grows.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. It's time to explore the Great Wide Open. Plan your trip at yourbackyardbeckons.ca.
Well, look who's back with the weather. It's Ashley.
Yep, I'm back, and don't worry, Jeremy will be back eventually at some point when I have to take the rest of my vacation. But what a lovely start to the week this week as far as temperatures go. Let's take a look at those temperatures across the board, reaching a high near 13 degrees in St. John's, and then towards Badger into the around 18 degrees, 19 in Corner Brook, and then we've got those temperatures pretty nice across Labrador as well. Cartwright 15, Happy Valley Goose Bay reached a high near 19 degrees today, and the hot spot was Lab City at 21. You're still sitting there right now, and we're going to see those temperatures dip a little bit as we head through the evening tonight. But we do have an area of low pressure just to the south of, well south of the island. But we did see some pretty nice temperature or nice skies this afternoon. A little bit of cloud cover moving through now. And then we're going to see the next area of low pressure move in for Labrador as we head through the evening tonight. And taking a look at that as we head through the overnight, you can see that rain move in. Going to be some heavy at times as we get towards the early morning hours, and then that will spread towards central Labrador as we head into 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Not a whole lot happening across the island. Some pretty nice skies or some fair weather as we head through the overnight tonight. We may see a few showers down along the southwest, but some of those clear skies means we could see some frost in some low-lying areas with temperatures hovering between 6 to 9 degrees, but those low-lying areas may dip around 2 to 3 degrees as we head through the overnight tonight, which has been the story really through most of the last week. And then temperatures tonight across Labrador, Happy Valley Goose Bay staying in the double digits, and Lab City around 7. Taking a look at the future tracker for tomorrow, not a whole lot going on across the island. You'll see some clouds through the day, but overall it should be a nice afternoon. Maybe a few showers down again for the southwest, but it will be rain the story across Labrador, which will at sometimes be a little bit heavy at times, and that will spread towards the east as we head through the early morning hours. And then you'll see some rain will move in again for the eastern portion of the island, and that's with that next tropical system that's going to move in. So we'll see that as we get into the early morning hours. So as far as rain goes for Labrador, you're seeing somewhere between 10 to 20 millimeters. That's a good bet. By the time we get to Wednesday morning, some pockets of heavier rain, 20 to 30 millimeters, and that will extend towards the coast again, like I said, into Wednesday morning. Temperatures tomorrow pretty nice, 18 to 20 degrees. Now, anywhere along the coast, some temperatures will be a lot cooler, maybe 10 to 12 degrees as your afternoon highs, but those winds will be out of the southeast, 20 to 40 kilometers. As you head towards central, should get into the 20s tomorrow afternoon. Some increasing cloud, though, as well. Twillingate should reach a high near 20 degrees. Same thing for Grand Falls, Windsor. And then as we head towards the west coast, Port aux Basques, like I said, looking at that temperature around 11 degrees, but that chance of showers as well. And it'll be a little gusty for the west coast. Those southeasterlies anywhere from 30 to 60 kilometers per hour through the day, but 18 to 20 degrees should be your daytime highs. For the northern peninsula, you're looking at generally fair skies, some increasing cloud through the day, but some temperatures will be sitting in the teens, and then that rain again across the big land moving in as the day goes on. But your temperatures should reach the teens as we get into the early morning hours, or rather the early afternoon. And then for the rest of Labrador, temperatures between 14 to 16 degrees. Rain the story for you. A little bit of sunshine to start for the north, but then your showers will move in through the day. Nain, you're looking at a high near 6 degrees. So that's a look at tomorrow's forecast. We'll talk about how much rain to expect on Wednesday with that next system, and I'll get into those details when I come back.
The pandemic has been hard for many children. We've talked about the resiliency of students, but how do you build up that resilience to help them cope? Well, at Beachy Cove Elementary in Portugal Cove, St. Philip's, they decided to write a book, not just to help themselves, but to help other students. I went out to the school today to find out a little more.
We are happy to present to you I Will Because I Can, a book about resilience for the grade 3 and grade 4 students of Beachy Cove Elementary.
It gave us the opportunity to get children really excited about their writing, because when you're publishing for somebody else, not just your teacher, it's a lot more meaningful than just when you're doing it to pass it in and get a grade on it. So we felt that that was an important aspect of the project.
So there's a person pulling up a boulder up a mountain, and he's doing it because he wants to do it. And the cover and the title is I Will Because I Can. So it shows he will do it because he can do it.
I was excited because when I was littler, I wanted to be a writer. So I feel like my dream has come a little true.
Why the topic of resilience?
I think it's where we are right now. We're feeling it a lot with different instances where kids are struggling to solve problems. They're needing to have adults involved. I think partially because of the pandemic as well. Families and problems have been a lot more isolated to a family. So now we get to a school and we're in a group there and we've got other things to worry about. And we're seeing, children having struggles trying to figure out how to deal in certain situations. So the resilience aspect made a lot of sense for us, and definitely, where we are right now in society and with the pandemic, it made perfect sense.
I've learned about how to be more resilient and how to, pretend I fall, get back up and just keep on going, and learn about how to not say no to myself.
If you're resilient, then you can withstand more pressure, and as a result, you won't melt down when put under pressure.
This is a resource for the students, made by the students. And, I think that they would understand it better when it's at their reading level, at their understanding and so on, and issues that they face every day. So we really wanted them to think about, well, what is something that might happen to you today? So they're late at school, or they left a project at home, or something happens on the playground. So you'll find lots of stories like that in there as well. And then we wanted them to find solutions to their issues so that they could learn to deal with them themselves.
A lot of things have been tough to do, and it just resilience just keeps me going, kind of.
What's been toughest for you?
Not going to school in person, not seeing my friends, not seeing my family, not going places. It was a bit difficult because I miss being able to give my friends hugs. I miss being able to chat in person and not having to deal with bad Wi-Fi.
They were nervous coming into the school. They were nervous about being close to friends. Then they were nervous about the different activities. Should I keep my mask up? Can I take it down? I'd like to speak to you, miss. I can't hear what you're saying. So, even just seeing us in mask was nervous for them. And so, again, helping to try and bring that down a little bit by bringing it talking to them about it. Sometimes talking about it and giving them ideas and solutions help quite a bit.
I hope they learn that they could do anything.
You see the word plexiglass in that sign behind me? Well, not all businesses in Newfoundland and Labrador have struggled during the pandemic. A good news story.
It was a good feeling going in and saying, well, in my experience, I'm after doing a few now. You're going to need this, this, and this. I'm going to try to make it most cost effective for you.
That's coming up.
We want to update you on the latest COVID numbers for Newfoundland and Labrador. 4 new cases announced today and another 7 announced on the weekend, so a total of 11 since Friday. Let's start with today's numbers, though. The 4 new cases are all in the western region. They're all contacts of previous cases, but none of them are associated with the current cluster. Pinpointing a source of that cluster and the one in Central is proving tricky, although officials say they're still working on it. 1 new case announced on Sunday, the lowest number of new cases in a single day in more than 6 weeks. It was also in the western region and connected to the cluster in the Stephenville area. 6 new cases announced on Saturday, 1 connected with travel within Canada, the other connected with the cluster on the west coast.
Well, we've all heard stories about some of the difficulties businesses in our province suffered through during the pandemic. Well, I'm at a business now with a slightly different story, and that's Tulk's Glass and Key Shop here in St. John's. And joining me now are the father and son team here at the shop. So let me start off by asking you, what was it like for the business at the very beginning of the pandemic?
It was a big unknown at the time. Everything shut down, businesses shut down. Luckily, we were deemed essential and did a lot of work for hospitals, pharmacies with regards of plexiglass barriers, supplying and installing safety shields, COVID barriers, and that's pretty well all we did. Closed our doors to the public and emergencies only.
So you must have been fearful though, because a lot of businesses' demand for everything went down. Did the barriers and all of that plexiglass stuff that we've all become so used to, did that make up for what you lost?
It certainly made up a portion. 50% of our business did manage to lose overnight, but the plexiglass, we always did sell acrylics and polycarbonates. The plexiglass certainly made up for it. Now, not the full 50%, but certainly helped manage to keep employees employed, which was a big thing for us being a local company, local employees.
And I can hear how busy it is in the background, so you must have been, run off your feet.
Yeah, we had good guys, a good crew, working 6-7 days a week, evenings, weekends. As the alert levels dropped, they were busy weeks. May 11th and June 8th, alert levels dropped. They'll always stick with me because we had to have the guys come in and work extra long hours those weekends to help local businesses get open, have their barriers ready, so that Monday came, they were ready to serve the public.
Right. Now you're the big boss here and the father.
In more ways than one.
What was the first 6 months of the pandemic like?
It was, like Stephen said, it was pretty fearful in the sense of you didn't know if you're going to regain your business and all that stuff. But we've been around a long time, 47 years this year. We have a lot of good customers, a lot of understanding customers, and people got used to working with the restrictions. And as luck should have it, in my side of the business, in regard of a lock or a key, you need it or you don't. So it's not a luxury item. So even though we had our doors and that locked, we'd still get a few walk-in customers who needed keys. Plus we had a lot of businesses who wanted to secure their premises in the sense of they didn't want the public just to walk in. They wanted to have a buzzer system or the door to be able to be locked so they could knock on the door to let people and control the flow.
I just want to shift gears here for the second part of this interview. As you guys know, it seems as though everybody in Newfoundland and Labrador has got a do-it-yourself kind of project. I know you're reluctant to talk about this because you're so busy, but tell me about things like showers.
Well, showers and glass railing systems and patio deck rails, anything to do with glass, that was a project people would tend to put off year after year. Realizing now between CERB, I guess, residential rebate programs, as well as not being able to travel down south or go on cruises, people were tackling projects that they put off for a few years, which in turn created a pretty big demand on our laminated safety glasses, our tempered glass shower systems, but luckily we had good guys, deck railings, we got good guys who stepped up to the plate and helped us out.
So these DIY projects that was on, Roger, how busy has it been in the second half of the pandemic or this year?
It's been pretty busy. The big thing now is, especially with the weather starting to break, is that customers are, they're working from home. They can't look out the window because their window is steamed up or the seal is gone. So we're getting a lot of calls for measurements that way because, especially this time of year now, you want to look out your window. The other thing that goes with that hand in hand is screening. Like people now are coming in, we're finally getting weather where we can open the doors and we want to keep the flies out and let some fresh air in, as a fella says, get the smell of house off you. And so we're busy on screens as well. We make screens and repair screens and that kind of stuff.
Stephen, I guess as far as showers go though, you're...
pretty busy, yeah.
If you're watching this, do not ask for a shower from Stephen.
By all means, come on, I'll give you a quote. Like you say, we're extremely busy. I got a stack of work orders. I joke with customers. I'm still working in April right now, so I will get to you.
Actually, it looks like Bill is coming for a visit, or what's left of Bill, one of the first tropical storms of the season. How much of an impact is this going to have on the province?
So by the time the remnants of Tropical Storm Bill get here, it'll essentially just be an area of low pressure, which is no different than what we would see this time of year for sure. It is going to bring lots of moisture though, so we'll probably see some periods of rain, which will maybe be heavy at times depending on the track of the system. But let's take a look at what the future tracker is saying, and you're going to see some rain pretty much across the board as we head through the afternoon on Wednesday as that the remnants merge essentially over the events, and that will head through the day on Thursday as well. So we're going to see that continue. We'll probably see a little bit of break on Thursday, and then some more moisture will move in on Friday. So it will be unsettled over the next week or so with some breaks in between. But Wednesday, looking at generally gray skies right across the board. And again, those temperatures will be sitting in the teens and will probably be a little bit humid as well. We'll probably see some humidity with this one. 15 degrees in St. John's, 18 through Gander, and then Corner Brook looking at a high near 19 degrees. As far as Labrador goes, temperatures between 10 to 14 degrees as you head towards the coast, and then a little cooler for Nain, hovering around the 5-degree mark. As we head into Thursday, a little bit more sunshine will be in play. We'll get back to periods of sun and cloud through the afternoon in the east. As the day goes on, you'll see potentially some showers in the morning, and then we should see some clearing through the afternoon. 18 degrees for St. John's, back to the 20s through central and even southern portions of the island as well. Marystown looking at a high near 20 degrees, and then going to continue to see those single, or at least some single-digit temperatures for southeastern Labrador. Cartwright hovering around 8 degrees, 5 for Nain, and then 12 for Lab City. So looking ahead, after Wednesday, even into Thursday, we're going to see some sun and cloud. Friday looks beautiful with a mix of sun and cloud. 20 degrees is the afternoon high for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland. And then by Saturday, we're looking at some unsettled conditions. Some more periods of rain expected then. Looking nicer towards central Newfoundland towards the weekend. 23, 24 degrees and overnight lows back into the double digits, 10 to 12 degrees. As your afternoon highs. For western Newfoundland, similar forecast as far as that sunshine goes as we head towards the weekend, and overnight lows around 14 degrees. So beautiful evening. For eastern Labrador, you're looking at, once you get rid of that rain, Friday and Saturday back into the 20s, maybe a few showers on Saturday, but overall looking nice. And then same thing for western Labrador, although looking a little bit more unsettled, some rain on Friday, and then a few peaks of sun on Saturday. I wanted to share this photo as our weather photo of the day today. Kayaking in Newtown, New West Valley. What a great shot there. Calvin shared that one with us. And if you have any weather photos to share with us, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
The man accused of killing 4 members of a Muslim family and injuring a 9-year-old boy in London, Ontario last week is now facing terrorism charges. Those charges were upgraded from 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of attempted murder. Police have described the attack as a hate-motivated crime. Thomas Degla has more.
After the teddy bears and words of support left by the community, now 9-year-old Fayaz Afzal has been released from hospital. With the boy's sister, parents, and grandmother all killed in last week's attack, the child, who was badly injured himself, is now recovering with relatives.
We're all just worried about psychologically how he might be and the long road ahead from that perspective.
And today, from the courthouse in London, came a move demanded by the community. Federal and provincial prosecutors agreed to pursue this case as terrorism. The change points to investigators uncovering more about the accused's motive.
I suspect that there's something that they have in their possession that outlines a little bit more than just an anti-Muslim sentiment.
Nathaniel Veltman showed no emotion as he appeared over Zoom while the charges were read out. He's facing 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 of attempted murder. Asked in court, "Those are your charges, sir. Do you understand that?" He calmly replied, "Yes, ma'am."
They've been allowed to attach it to terrorist activity, simply saying that he's engaged in this act for a political, ideological, or religious purpose to try and either scare people or cause violence.
For a conviction, prosecutors will not only have to show evidence the attack was pre-planned, but that it was intended to intimidate part of the population.
Whenever something like this happens, you know what the impact is. People feel terrorized, people feel scared.
The accused remains in custody and faces a life sentence if convicted. He's scheduled to return to court in 1 week. Thomas Daigle, CBC News, Toronto.
Still in Ontario, people who receive the AstraZeneca vaccine no longer have to wait 12 weeks to get their second. Ontario reduced the minimum wait time to 8 weeks over the weekend.
I know there are some people that make the argument that longer intervals are maybe more beneficial. There was some data with AstraZeneca suggesting that. But when you weigh the pros and the cons, I think the benefits of giving everybody 2 doses is going to vastly outweigh any potential increased immune response that you're going to get by delaying the second dose.
Now, more than 64% of eligible Canadians have now had at least 1 shot. That makes Canada a world leader in administering first doses. Our province is at 72%, by the way. Many more vaccines are on the way. At least 20 million doses will be shipped to Canada this month alone. The NATO summit got underway in Brussels today, and the Secretary General describes this year's meeting as a pivotal moment for the alliance because of threats posed by Russia and China. He said NATO's relations with Russia were, quote, at the lowest point since the Cold War because of that country's aggressive behavior. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau echoed those points when the two sat down for a photo op.
Russia is worse now in terms of its engagement with NATO countries and more disruptive than it has been in decades.
Now, Trudeau expressed concern about a rise in authoritarianism in the world, saying he worries about China's development of nuclear missiles. This is the first time NATO leaders have gathered since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic.
With the global pandemic and many travel restrictions still in effect, vacations may feel a little out of reach for many people.
There's one Ottawa couple, though, decided not to let that get in the way of, well, getting away. Here's how they're making staycation memories.
I'm Ruth.
Hi, I'm OJ.
And we went on vacation to Florida,
Las Vegas,
the Maritimes,
Hawaii,
and New York City, all in our house. The Florida beach one was my favorite. We kept it up. We kept it up for a couple of days without taking the scene down. It was great to get up every morning, walk into my living room, sit down in a beach chair, and run my toes and my feet through the sand and close my eyes and just pretend I was on a beach in Florida somewhere.
And we're supposed to go away this March again, for the whole month of March down south. But with the restrictions of COVID and that, we wanted to look at a different outlet to still get through March, because March is always a kind of a dreary month.
And we also did a food drink theme to go with the vacation. So we looked up what drinks were applicable to the vacation we were doing and what the food was that we had eaten while we were there. It brought our friends and family some laughs, and that I just thought it was a nice thing to share with people.
It's a lot cheaper than a real vacation.
Yes.
We figured, well, just play the theme up with the decorations and the associated cards, and pretend we're playing strip poker as if we were there.
I said, and then we said, what happens in our dining room stays in our dining room. So,
yeah.
And not anymore. Yeah, I've always had the live life to the fullest now attitude, but even more so since the pandemic, because nothing is a certainty.
The RVE is already planned. Once it's opened up and we're allowed to travel to provinces internally, then it'll be going to Nova Scotia to visit family and friends.
I want to go home.
Yep, a sentiment shared by many who want to head back this way.
Absolutely. And interestingly, tomorrow we start the first baby steps towards the reopening plan. Officially, the travel restrictions are going to ease on July 1st, but the kind of pre-opening comes into effect tomorrow, which means gathering sizes will increase for outdoor gatherings. So organized events go up to 150 people, and if you want to have people in your backyard, you'll be able to have 30 people in gatherings, along with other sports tournaments. So a sign that things are starting to ease back towards normal before we hit that big date on July 1st, when the travel restrictions will ease somewhat and we'll start to see a lot more people.
So the big question, Peter, is when are you going to light up that barbecue and have us all over?
Well, the first thing I need to find is 30 people who I could make friends with to invite over. So I don't think that restriction is what's been holding me back so far.
All right, well, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching.
Have a good night.